Incredible transformation. Discover how 100 bikers united to protect a disabled girl from bullies. In the heart of a small Midwestern town, where cornfields met the horizon, an extraordinary event was about to unfold, something that would redefine community, love, and courage. Emma, a spirited 12-year-old girl with bright blue eyes and an infectious laugh, faced battles no child should have to fight. Cerebral palsy laid claim to her body, but not her spirit. Every day, she pushed through the cruelty of middle school bullying, but today was different. Today would change everything. "Hey, wheelchair girl, going to follow your dad to the store and get some brain power?" The laughter echoed around her like nails on a chalkboard. As Emma sat alone at lunch, those taunts cut deep, making her cheeks burn in humiliation. Yet, deep down, she held on to hope, fueled by her devoted mother, Sarah, who worked exhaustively at the local diner just to make sure Emma felt loved. Sarah's heart ached every time she saw the sparkle in Emma's eyes dim from the unkindness of others. She spent long hours pouring coffee for regulars, making sure to save extra smiles for her daughter. However, after hearing of another lunchroom incident, Sarah found herself utterly devastated. Tears streamed down her face as she realized the world could be so harsh, casting shadows where there should be light. She took a deep breath, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Determined, she thought about her little girl, the girl resilient enough to take on more than most. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With newfound determination, Sarah organized a community gathering at the park. She wanted to rally support for Emma and all kids who felt alone in their struggles. Meanwhile, news of Emma's plight reached the local motorcycle club. Known for their tough exteriors, the bikers were often misjudged. But fueled by compassion, they felt called to action. They began planning a charity ride, dreaming of building a playground for children with disabilities, an oasis of inclusion and hope. As the day of the gathering approached, Emma felt the familiar weight of anxiety settling in her chest. She watched her mother tirelessly prepare, but the thought of facing those cruel classmates terrified her. Yet, the bikers were equally anxious, not just revving their engines, but steeling their minds to face the prejudice they often encountered themselves. They would stand side by side with Sarah and Emma, unyielding on that fateful day. The park filled with townsfolk. Excitement buzzed in the cool autumn air. As the bikers rolled in, roaring to the scene like thunder, every heart stopped in awe. Would they truly be enough to change Emma's world? Could love, unity, and a mere act of kindness sway the hearts of those who had bullied their own? The moment to confront not just the bullies, but prejudice itself, was at hand. With all eyes locked on Emma, a fresh wave of hope surged through her. Would she emerge as the warrior she truly was, or remain just a target? Emma's heart raced as the bikers dismounted, their leather vests gleaming in the afternoon sun. She felt a mixture of admiration and fear. Would they really help, or was it just a show? Sarah stood in the crowd, beaming with pride. She had not just gathered people. She had united a community. With the bikers by her side, she felt something different in the air, a blend of hope and strength. Each roar of an engine echoed like a declaration of love, igniting a glimmer of courage in Emma's chest as the bikers formed a protective circle around her. Whispers of astonishment rippled through the crowd. The energy was electric, and Emma found herself straining to hear the words of a tall biker, his beard framed by the sun. "We're here for you, Emma. You're not alone anymore." His voice, deep and steady, stirred something within her. It was as if the very walls that had boxed her in began to crumble at his proclamation. Feeling emboldened, Emma gripped the wheels of her chair tighter. She could see her classmates peeking out from the shadows, their jeers silenced by the sudden wave of solidarity washing over the park. This was her moment, the chance to reclaim her story. As Sarah stepped forward, the crowd hushed. She spoke with a passion that reverberated through the crisp air. We need to stand together. No child should face bullying alone. Let us build a playground where everyone feels included, where kids like Emma can laugh and play. This is about all of us. The crowd erupted into cheers, and somewhere deep inside, Emma felt a small spark catch fire. She could feel the support envelop her like a warm embrace. This place, where laughter had once been drowned out by hurtful comments, would now blossom into a haven where she could play alongside friends, without the shadow of bullying looming over her. Suddenly, she spotted a few classmates, their expressions unreadable. Emma's breath caught in her throat. They had come, curious if the bikers could change the tide. Among them stood a girl named Kayla, the leader of the Bullies. Emma shared classes with her, and her past interactions echoed painfully in Emma's mind. But today, everything felt different. The moment lingered as Emma caught Kayla's eye. What she saw there was unexpected and uncertainty that mirrored her own. It struck her. Perhaps the same fear that paralyzed her had also clouded Kayla's vision. Could this gathering shift the hearts, even those that had once cast stones her way? With a deep breath, Emma wheeled herself forward, closer to Kayla, the noise surrounding them fading into a blur. She noticed how the laughter of children playing nearby felt light and hopeful. "Hi," Emma said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Maybe we could be friends?" Gasps filled the air. The bikers leaned in closer, ready to defend her if needed. But Emma felt something shift as Kayla's eyes softened. The girl took a small step forward, her hesitance melting away under the palpable warmth radiating from the crowd. A moment of silence hung heavy as a cloud, the kind that promised a storm of change. Would Kayla respond with kindness or disdain? Emma's heart raced, uncertain of what lay ahead but firmly believing in the potential for new beginnings. The air was electric, charged with anticipation. This was the moment of truth, not just for Emma but for everyone. Would they choose unity over division? Could unkind hearts thaw in the presence of compassion? As the crowd watched, a new chapter unfurled before them. What would happen next? Emma had taken a leap, but would it be enough to change not just her story, but the community's story too? Kayla's eyes widened as the weight of Emma's simple request hung in the air. Emma searched her face for a flicker of understanding, a hint of the kindness she had dared to hope for. The moments stretched, the crowd's murmurs dwindling into a curious silence, creating an intimate bubble around them. "Friends?" Kayla echoed, her voice soft, as if testing the word on her tongue. Emma nodded, feeling a surge of emotion rise like tidal waves crashing against the shore. Was this really happening? Suddenly, the silence shattered when a boy shouted from the back. "Why would she want to be friends with you?" Laughter bubbled up, but it wasn't directed at Emma this time. It was aimed at Kayla. Emma's heart sank. She could feel the fragile moment slipping away like sand through her fingers. But Kayla didn't back down. Instead, she turned slowly towards the voice, her expression shifting from uncertainty to resolve. "You don't get it," she said, her tone quivering yet fierce. "Maybe we all need to think about how we treat each other." "Huh?" A ripple of surprise ran through the crowd. The bikers straightened up, exchanging glances of approval. Emma's heart beat faster. Could this actually be a turning point? A chance for healing? Kayla took a deep breath, stepping into the space Emma had created. I want to be better," she admitted, the vulnerability in her eyes clear. "I've hurt people and I don't want to anymore." Emma's heart soared. This was more than she had anticipated. She sensed the shift, not just in Kayla, but in the atmosphere around them. People began to whisper, not in derision but in shared understanding. This was monumental. Both girls stood together, vulnerable yet brave. "I think we should all be friends," Emma said, her words gaining momentum. The bikers nodded, their presence amplifying her message of unity. "Let us create a place where everyone belongs, where no one feels alone." A wave of murmurs rose, followed by scattered applause. Emma's cheeks flushed, caught between disbelief and exhilaration. She had dared to dream, to reach for something bigger, And now it felt possible. Sarah stepped forward, eyes bright with approval. Let us do it. Let us show them that kindness can change things. Who's in? Arms shot up in the air, cheers erupting like fireworks in the night sky. The bikers roared, revving their engines, while kids began to chant Emma's name. This was a new beginning, not just for her, but for everyone. As Kayla turned back to Emma, an unexpected warmth filled the air around them. I'm sorry for what I did before, she murmured, sincerity threading through her words. Let us start fresh. Emma's confidence swelled, and with a bright smile, she replied, yeah, let us create something amazing together. But just as things seemed poised for transformation, a figure lurked at the edge of the crowd. It was one of the boys who often joined in the taunts. He stepped forward, brow furrowed as he glanced around. You think this changes anything? You're still that girl in a chair. His words landed like a stone. A hush fell, and Emma's heart sank momentarily. Would their hopeful moment shatter? The crowd's enthusiasm wavered, uncertainty creeping in. But Emma recalled the feeling of the bikers' support and the warmth emanating from her classmates. She steadied her voice, passion fueling her words. I might be in a chair, but I have a heart that can feel. And I'm not afraid anymore. Let us not give in to hate. The air around them crackled with energy, waiting for a spark to ignite the fire. Could Emma's voice rally the crowd? Could they rise above the doubts and find strength in their unity? What would their answer be? Emma's heart drummed wildly in her chest, full of hope yet tinged with the fear of rejection. The moment hung in suspense, a tightrope walk between past and future as the crowd looked on, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. The air was thick with anticipation as the crowd shifted, eyes locked on Emma. She could feel the pulse of uncertainty, but she refused to let it drown her out. We're not here to fight, she said, her voice steady, growing in volume as every word poured from her heart. We're here to stand together and lift each other up. That's stronger than any name-calling. Kayla stood beside her, visibly supporting Emma's words. The boy faltered for a moment, his bravado cracking, but Emma pressed on, determined to capture the moment. Let us show everyone that we can create something beautiful, something unbreakable. The bikers, towering figures of strength and resilience, began to cheer, their voices merging into a thundering roar. They shouted in unison, their engines rumbling like a heartbeat, energizing everyone around. Emma felt a spontaneous spark ignite in the crowd, infectious excitement spreading like wildfire. People began to chant, kindness, kindness, kindness. As the sound intensified, Emma glanced around, taking in the faces of her classmates, the bikers, and even some skeptics. Each person seemed to wrestle with their own feelings. Would they embrace this moment, or slip back into old ways? Then the boy who had thrown the harsh words stepped back, arms crossed, uncertainty etched in his features. Emma couldn't tell if he was considering her plea or if he had simply lost his nerve. Either way, she had to keep pushing forward. This was not just about her and Kayla. It was about everyone present. Look around, Emma called. Let us choose to accept each other, flaws and all. We all have our battles. We've all felt out of place. But we can change that. She locked eyes with Kayla, an unspoken agreement passing between them. Together they represented change. Together, they could dismantle the walls built by fear and misunderstanding. The crowd began to clap, drew in by their passion. It was a hesitant start but quickly transformed into a rhythm. Emma felt hope swell within her. Could this truly be happening? A girl near the front of the group, her face flushed with enthusiasm, shouted, I want to be a part of this. Can we organize events? Make a club? Something to keep this going? Yes, Emma exclaimed, emboldened by the girl's zeal. Let us start a club focused on kindness and community. We could plan activities, support each other whatever it takes. More voices joined in agreement. The buzz of excitement began to grow, a tangible sense of unity forming within the crowd. Then, right as Emma began to believe in this new direction, she felt a familiar twist of anxiety. What if this moment was fleeting? What if the excitement ebbed away as quickly as it had arrived? But she pushed those thoughts aside, focusing instead on what they had built together. One of the bikers, a woman with sharp blue hair, roared with laughter, breaking through the collective tension. You know, if this turns into a club, we could host some awesome bike rides. Invite everyone. A ripple of laughter followed, filling the air with a sense of camaraderie. Yet, even as jokes were shared and plans were made, Emma felt a knot forming in her stomach. She turned back towards the boy who had mocked her, the taunter who still stood at the edge of the gathering. "Is anyone willing to join us?" she asked him directly, her voice unwavering. The crowd paused, heavy with expectation. What would he say? Would he dismiss the idea again or take a leap of faith into this new chapter? Every heartbeat felt like a drum, building up the anticipation. Emma held her breath, her steadfast gaze fixed on him. What was he going to choose? The silence felt electric, and Emma's heart thumped louder, echoing the hopes swirling around them. Just as the crowd's breath caught in unison, the boy shifted on his feet, that familiar bravado slipping away like sand through fingers. Emma felt the weight of the world resting on his answer. It was an unsteady moment, and she couldn't help but notice the flickers of doubt in his eyes, the vulnerability beneath the surface. Perhaps he wasn't as resolute as he pretended to be. "I was just joking around," he finally muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. But there was a tremor, a hint of something deeper than mere dismissal. The crowd stirred at his words, a mixture of disappointment and curiosity flaring, ready to pounce on his next move. Was it really a joke? Emma challenged gently, her voice softening. "Sometimes what we say might hurt more than we realize. I've been there, we all have. But wouldn't it be better to lift each other up?" The boy's eyes darted around the circle, desperately searching for support. But the crowd had shifted. Emma's words hung in the air, heavy with truth. She could feel the tension raw and electric. "I don't know," he finally replied, taking a half step back. Emma's heart sank. His hesitation felt like a door closing. But then, from the back of the crowd came a voice, seemingly small but filled with conviction. "You should join. It's not about where you stand now. It's about where we can all go together." The voice belonged to a boy Emma recognized, someone who had stood by her through thick and thin, his face lit with a hopeful hopefulness. "Yeah." Someone else chimed in. "If you've got something to say, say it. We're all here to listen." Emma's heart picked up a beat, embers of encouragement reigniting. The boy looked visibly taken aback by the unexpected swell of support. "Look," Emma continued, "we all have a choice to make. We can either keep tearing each other down or build something stronger. Do you want to be part of something amazing?" The crowd started to chant again, this time more rhythmic and forceful. "Choose kindness. Choose kindness." The energy swelled, each voice combining with the force of a tidal wave, matching Emma's fervor. Finally, the boy stepped forward, a hint of resolve breaking through his initial retreat. "All right, I'll give it a shot," he said, hesitance still lingering but noticeably diminished. Cheers erupted, no one more so than Emma, her heart lifting in that moment. Perhaps this was truly a new beginning. She grinned, feeling the weight lift from her chest. "But we should do something big, an event, a rally or a community day," he suggested, eyes alight with newfound enthusiasm. The crowd's excitement exploded, each idea bouncing around like fireworks. Emma's mind raced, ideas swirling rapidly. Games, food trucks, and maybe even prizes for those who brought friends, anything to reinforce their message of kindness. As the planning ramped up, Emma felt a surge of energy. Hope was dancing in the air. Just as the possibilities seemed endless, a sharp voice cut through the excitement. "Wait, are we just going to ignore what was said to Emma?" He was right there mocking her. Suddenly, the mood shifted as the crowd quieted, the warmth turning cold. Uncertainty returned, and Emma felt a knot tighten in her stomach again. What would happen next? Would they push past this lingering tension and unite? Or would it all cascade back into familiar shadows of judgment and division? Her thoughts raced. Could this moment of unity hold up against the weight of past hurts? Before she could gather her thoughts, the girl who'd first spoken up stood tall and declared, "We're all human. We all mess up, but it's how we move forward that counts." And as they waited to see how the crowd would react to this challenge, Emma couldn't help but wonder, could they really become more than just a moment? Could they transform this fleeting spark into something everlasting? Something deep stirred within her, a whisper of belief that maybe this was the start of real change. But was everyone ready for the journey ahead? The crowd hung in silence, the air thick with anticipation and uncertainty. Emma could feel the heartbeats around her, each pulse resonating with the same question, what now? The boy who had first spoken out, his face a canvas of fresh determination, looked around, waiting for an answer. "Okay," he finally said, his voice stronger now, "we can't just pretend like nothing happened. We need to acknowledge it." A collective murmur swept through the crowd. Some heads nodded, while others showed traces of uncertainty, a tug-of-war of feelings battling inside. Emma felt a spark of hope. Could this be the turning point? Yeah. Let us not just sweep things under the rug. We can talk about it. That boy from earlier chimed in again, drawing strength from his earlier comment. "Do you really think he meant it like that? Maybe he didn't know how much words can hurt." Another voice suggested cautiously. Emma stepped forward, feeling an unexplainable push inside her. She began, her words deliberate. "Sometimes pain is a product of ignorance. What if, instead of throwing blame, we offered understanding?" The boy who had initially mocked her shifted his weight, looking more vulnerable with each passing second. "I didn't mean exactly." Emma cut him off gently. "We can all say things we don't mean. This is our chance. A chance to be better and to make amends. It's not just about me. It's about all of us." The crowd seemed to inhale together, the atmosphere shifting. Emma's insistence was less a challenge and more a bridge reaching out over the chasm of tension that had formed. "I think I get what you're saying," the boy finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "We should learn from this change for the better." Then, the girl who had been so vocal earlier spoke up once more. "Let us hold each other accountable moving forward. If we see something, we say something. We work on it together." A ripple of agreement passed through the group, their spirits lifting like balloons filling with air. Emma felt a smile break across her face, warm and hopeful. "Yeah." Another girl shouted, "How about we write letters? Let us share our experiences anonymously, if that helps. We can post them on a wall where everyone can see." Excited chatter erupted, ideas bubbling over like a pot on the verge of boiling. Emma glanced at the boy who had first admitted to his mistake, and she could see a flicker of relief dancing in his eyes. It was as if he was finally realizing this moment could mean something significant, not just for him, but for them all. Amid the clamor, Emma raised her hands to grab their attention. "Okay, it sounds like we're on the right path. But we need to set a date for our community day and all these discussions we'll have. Who wants to help plan it?" Hands shot up around her, enthusiasm igniting the once stifling atmosphere. Emma took a deep breath, her pulse quickening. This was the moment she had dreamed of. But then a voice emerged from the back once more, laced with doubt. "What if this still doesn't work? What if tomorrow people just forget what happened today?" The question hung in the air, heavy and challenging. Emma's heart sank momentarily. This wasn't just about a single day. It needed to last. Could they build a real change? As she looked out at the faces staring back at her, some filled with determination, others reflecting fear, Emma felt her resolve strengthen. "Then we keep reminding each other. Together. We can't let this one moment define us if we decide to keep moving forward. Are you with me?" The energy in the crowd shifted again. But this time, it was electric, buzzing with the potential of what lay ahead. Little did Emma know, their choice to unite in this moment would lead them to face challenges that would test not only their community but deepen the friendships they thought they understood. What armies would they have to muster? And would they be strong enough to fight for each other when the darkness returned? As the crowd bristled with newfound energy, murmurs turned into excited discussions. Emma felt a sense of relief wash over her. This gathering wasn't just about her anymore. It was a declaration of unity, hope, and change. People were leaning into the conversation, faces lighting up slowly like the morning sun breaking through the fog. "Let us meet on Saturday," someone shouted from the front, igniting more cheers. "That'll give us time to plan." "Good idea," another voice chimed in. "We can use the park. It's big enough for everyone." Emma nodded vigorously, her mind racing through possibilities. They could set up tables, share their letters, host discussions, maybe even set up a wall of commitment where they could all sign their names vowing to support each other. "All right, we'll have a planning session," Emma declared, her excitement bubbling over. "Let us break into groups and come up with ideas." The crowd divided, laughter and ideas mingling like old friends. Emma found herself in a small group of enthusiastic volunteers. Among them was the boy who had openly admitted to his mistake, his expression more engaged than it had been before. "I think we should have a mural," he suggested, his eyes sparkling. "A big one that represents our journey together." "I love that idea," a girl added. "Art can speak louder than words sometimes." But just as the planning began to unfold, Emma caught sight of a solitary figure sitting on the edge of the gathering, a boy she didn't recognize. He was slumped over, staring at the ground with a furrowed brow. Doubt crept back into her spirit. Was he thinking of all the ways they could fail? Taking a deep breath, Emma walked over to him. "Hey, I'm Emma," she said softly, trying to gauge his mood. "Are you okay?" He looked up, eyes sad yet stormy. I don't know if all of this will really make a difference," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma felt a pang in her heart. She could see his struggle, a mix of fear and hopeful longing. "It will," she assured him, putting a hand on his shoulder. "I can't promise everything will be perfect, but we'll be in this together. That counts for something, right?" He offered a small, uncertain smile. "I guess so. I just wonder if anyone really cares." "Then let us show them we do," she urged, her determination echoing in her voice. Emma felt a sense of purpose rising within her like sparks colliding in the air as they rejoined the group. She noticed others glancing their way, some whispering. Would they embrace this new approach, or would doubts begin to cloud their voices again? That night, Emma sat at her desk writing her own letter. She poured her fears and hopes into each word, wanting the others to understand how much this meant to her. She wanted to say that she felt lost sometimes but was ready to stand arm in arm with them, determined to create something better. But when she finished, she hesitated. Would they really listen to her? Would they see past the girl who had once felt so alone, so bullied? A sharp knock interrupted her thoughts. When she opened the door, it was her brother. "Hey, are you ready for tomorrow?" he asked cheerfully. "Ready as I can be," she replied, her throat tight with emotion. He noticed the letter in her hand, curiosity shining in his eyes. "What's that?" "Oh, just something I'm working on," she replied, quickly folding it and tucking it away. As her brother left, a feeling of trepidation twisted in her stomach. Could she be brave enough to deliver her message? What would happen when she stood before her peers and laid out her heart? Could it lead to the understanding they sought or simply unravel everything they'd built in that one afternoon? The clock ticked louder, each second pulling her deeper into uncertainty. Emma took a deep breath, looking towards the window where the sky was beginning to lighten. Tomorrow would be a crucible of truth. But would the spark they ignited today withstand the test? And would they have enough courage to face what lay ahead together? The sun peeked through Emma's curtains, casting warm rays around her room. She sat on the edge of her bed, heart racing with anticipation. Today was the day they would meet. There was an energy in the air, electric and alive. But underneath it all, a twinge of anxiety twisted her stomach. What if no one cared? What if they didn't show up? As Emma got ready, she glanced at herself in the mirror, adjusting her hair, nervously fiddling with the hem of her shirt. She wanted to look confident, even if she didn't feel it. Today was about more than her. It was about everyone who had ever felt alone, pushed aside, or judged. The park was buzzing with life when she arrived. The grass was speckled with people, some setting up tables, others arranging chairs. Emma smiled as she saw familiar faces, her friends. The boy who had bravely admitted his mistake, and even the solitary boy from yesterday. His presence was a small victory in itself. Taking a deep breath, Emma gathered everyone around. Thank you all for being here. Today is about sharing our stories, our hopes, and what we want to see change. She began, her voice trembling but strong. We're building something special. As she spoke, a sense of unity washed over the gathering. One by one, people shared their ideas. There would be an art corner for kids, a letter-sharing station, and even a wall where everyone could post their commitments. Laughter mingled with the sounds of instruments as someone broke into an impromptu song, lifting spirits further. Emma felt herself relax, embracing the joy that filled the park. But then, a shout pierced the laughter. Emma turned to see a group approaching, their faces sneering, eyes fixed on the gathering. A wave of dread swept through her, and her heart pounded heavily in her chest. This was not what they had hoped for. They think they can just do whatever they want, said a girl near Emma, her voice shaking. Who do they think they are? Emma walked forward instinctively, fear battling her determination. We're a group, she called out, trying to project confidence. We're here to stand together. You can't break us. The sneering group slowed but didn't turn away. One of the boys stepped forward, a smirk on his face. What's this? A little support group for losers? He taunted, but behind his bravado, Emma noticed uncertainty. She felt a surge of strength. This was their moment. You might think we're weak, but we're here for each other. We're here to change things, not just for us but for everyone, not just to be better, but to lift each other up. Her heartfelt words hung in the air, and for a moment, the crowd fell silent. The girl who had spoken before stepped up beside Emma. They're wrong. We care and we're gonna show it. Then, surprisingly, a voice emerged from the back of the group of bystanders, a girl Emma recognized from school. You can't control us. We believe in this, she declared, shifting the dynamics. In that moment, something shifted. The sneering faces softened, confusion flickering in their eyes. Emma could feel the crowd rallying behind her, their unity palpable. As she stood there, flanked by supporters, Emma realized this wasn't just about her or the hurt they faced. It was a collective transformation. The confrontation lifted the emotions into a collective roar of resilience. Would the fear of confrontation strengthen their resolve, or would it push them back into the shadows? In that hushed moment, Emma glanced at her friends. Would they stand firm or retreat? Would the sincerity in their message reach those who needed it most, or would the skepticism choke them before they even had a chance to shine? The tension felt like a tightrope stretching over an abyss. Emma held her breath as she glanced at her friends, searching their faces for reassurance. Some looked resolute, while others shifted nervously, eyes darting to the approaching group. The sneering faces remained, but Emma saw a flicker of hesitation. Let us show them what we're made of, Emma urged louder, her heart pounding as her voice rose above the tension. This is our space, and we deserve to be here. Each of us has a story, and they matter. The knot in her stomach began to loosen as murmurs of agreement rippled through her supporters. One by one, more voices joined hers, reconfirming their commitment to the cause. Even the boy who had once mocked them looked taken aback as someone from their side shouted, "We won, be silent." The aggressors hesitated, exchanging confused looks. Emma sensed the shift happening, like a breeze displacing heavy clouds. It wasn't just her resolve in the air. It was hope. It illuminated the faces of those who had come to stand together. They wanted a change. Yeah, what you're doing is wrong. A girl with bright pink hair chimed in, stepping up to Emma's side. We're all tired of being bullied or judged. We choose to uplift each other. Emma felt adrenaline surge, her fear evaporating like mist in the sun. She stepped farther into the open, holding her ground. We're taking a stand for everyone who has ever felt less than. You think we're losers? We're fighting to be seen, to be heard. The mocking group shifted uneasily, glances exchanged. One of them, a tall boy with dark hair, stepped slightly back. What if we don't care? He challenged, but his voice held a trace of uncertainty. Emma smiled, and it surprised even her. Then let this be a reminder that someone out there does. Everyone here matters. Look around, we're stronger together. Behind her, cheers erupted. Those around Emma began pulling one another closer, forming a protective circle. Laughter and shouts of support surged through the air, drowning out the remnants of hostility. Emma felt the warmth, the buzzing energy of unity enveloping her like a comfortable blanket. Just when she felt the crowd reaffirming her strength, the leader of the mocking group threw his hands up in defeat. Fine. Do what you want. But don't say we didn't warn you. He turned to storm off, an unresolved conflict lingering in his wake. Yeah, get lost, called another voice, the crowd feeling empowered like never before. Emma couldn't help but laugh, the feeling of joy washing over her as realization dawned. Their courage and love had grown louder than the hate as the tension began to dissipate and conversations filled the park once more. Emma turned to her friends, their faces beaming with pride. The air was alive, vibrant with hope. But then, a boy with an anxious expression from the back approached her, fidgeting with the sleeves of his shirt. That was incredible, Emma. But what if they come back? What happens then? Her heart sank a little. The truth was, she didn't know. The initial victory was exhilarating, but the looming uncertainty loomed larger than before. How would they continue to combat the doubt and fear? Then we have to be ready, Emma replied, steeling herself with determination, a new fire igniting in her soul. It's only the beginning. We'll keep standing up together. And as the sun began to set, casting golden rays over their gathering, Emma made a silent promise. They would not simply rise in defense. They would rise for each other, for all those who needed hope. But how would they solidify their movement? With a deep breath, she scanned the crowd, a plan brewing. But there was something else bubbling too: fear, excitement, and a small whisper of doubt that flickered in her mind. It wasn't just about confronting the bullies. How could she inspire others to join their mission? The challenge lay ahead, but Emma knew one thing. This was only the beginning of something truly extraordinary. And as the first stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, she felt the narrative shift. Would they find the courage to continually write their own story or be swept away by the tide of doubt? The sun rose bright over the Midwestern town, blending oranges and pinks across the sky. Emma sat in the park, her heart fluttering like a hummingbird's wings, as she awaited the community day. Today wasn't just a gathering. It was a chance to solidify the bonds they had formed, to build something lasting from the ashes of hurt. As people arrived, the air was thick with hope and a buzz of energy. Families, friends, even acquaintances who had previously stayed silent now gathered in support. Emma noticed Kayla among them, her warm smile a promise of friendship, a marker of the transformation they had embarked upon together. This wasn't just about Emma anymore. It was about each and every one of them. Hey, Emma, a familiar voice called. The boy who had once been part of the class mocking her approached, a nervous smile dancing across his lips. I can't believe how many people showed up. This is amazing. He wore a t-shirt covered in doodles, a visual representation of his change, embracing creativity instead of cruelty. She grinned, the weight of her fears lifting. I know. Can you believe it's happening? We're all building something real together. As the day unfolded, laughter echoed through the park. Children ran to the art corner, adults mingled at tables, and the spirit of unity blossomed, palpable and vibrant. Emma felt her heart swell every time she saw children exchanging ideas: a mural, a kindness wall, and a community garden rooted in understanding. It was beautiful. And then Emma felt a familiar presence. The boy who had called her a loser stood nearby, his arms crossed, uncertainty clouding his expression. Fear twisted within her again. But instead of retreating into silence, she sought him out. Hey, Emma said, squeezing the hand of her friend for reassurance. What's on your mind? I don't know if I can do this, he admitted, his voice cracking. What if I mess up again? Emma took a deep breath before responding. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to share, to grow, and to learn from each other. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to not know how to do it right. We'll figure it out together. A flicker of hope ignited in his eyes. You really mean that? Absolutely. This is about all of us taking the leap into the unknown. Take that leap with me, Emma encouraged, feeling the roar of the community rising around them. As the crowd began to gather for the first storytelling session, Emma wheeled to the center, her heart racing not from anxiety but from excitement. "Thank you all for being here," she called. "Today is our chance to lift each other up by sharing our stories and experiences. This is about creating bridges, not walls." Cheers erupted. One by one, people stood up to share. A girl spoke of moving to a new school and feeling isolated. A boy talked of having been teased for his passion for art. Each voice added to the tapestry they were weaving together, threading hope through shared pain. And then it was Emma's turn. She gripped her chair, the words pressing against her heart like powerful waves at the shore. "We all have our struggles. I know what it feels like to be bullied. But today isn't just about me. It's about every child who feels unseen. We can stand as allies. We can build something that lasts." As she spoke, she caught Kayla's eye, flashing a proud smile. Emma felt the warmth of support from the bikers behind her, their strength an unwavering shield. The crowd erupted into applause, unified in the moment, tears and joy mixing freely under the sun. Among the voices, she noticed the boy from earlier who had once hurt her, now standing tall, a mix of remorse and determination overshadowing his fears. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice shaky but loud. "Let us keep this going, not just here today, but beyond." "Definitely," someone shouted, and laughter broke through once more. An enthusiastic conversation sparked regarding future gatherings, clubs focusing on kindness, and community outreach to support those who felt different. With each suggestion, Emma felt the foundation they were building rise higher. As conversations buzzed, Emma wheeled toward the mural corner, the centerpiece of the day. Joining photographers and artists, everyone began painting their hopes, thoughts, and promises. She picked up a brush, her fingers trembling with excitement. This was more than just color. This was life catching fire, a vibrant representation of their transformation. Each stroke felt like a heartbeat, alive and meaningful. The smells of paint and laughter floated in the air, filling Emma with an exhilarating sense of determination. Then, as the last strokes of color went onto the mural, Emma took a step back, looking at the chaos of colors and words merging into one another. People began to crowd around her, chatting and connecting while pointing at the artwork, their eyes twinkling with understanding and joy. "Thank you for bringing us all here," one girl said, tears glistening in her eyes. "You gave us hope. You showed me I'm not alone." Her heart swelled with joy, tears threatening to spill. Emma could feel the power of community enveloping them in love, erasing the pain of the past. Emma smiled, a radiant expression reflecting all the warmth and acceptance they had built together. "I'm so proud of each of you," she declared, her voice ringing with sincerity. "And to my friends, the bikers, and everyone who showed up today, this is just the start. Let us keep standing up for each other, together." As cheers filled the air, laughter rang across the park. Today was a victory, a transformative moment in the midst of a greater journey. Emma knew in her heart this community of kindness would protect every child who felt lost. And with every brushstroke they painted, they began to rewrite the narrative of who they could be together, united, forever. Now is the time to take action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of these incredible stories. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button to fuel the algorithm. Comment below to share your feelings about this riveting ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this transformation. Stand with us,